Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In the previous video, we took a look at what web development really is. We examined what front-end and back-end development is, as well as full-stack development. We also took a look at how the internet works. In this video, we are going to take our first step in building our first web application. But first of all, we have to set up our environment. Let's jump right in. To begin your journey in software engineering or web development, you need a code editor. Code editor is an environment where you write your code. The most popular code editor nowadays is VS Code, but there are many other code editors out there. So to begin, go to code.visualstudio.com to open this page and click on download. Since I'm on Mac, I can see download for Mac, but if you're on Windows, you will also see download for Windows, or you can click other platforms to see the suitable version for your platform. So just click on download and then follow through the prompt to download the Visual Studio Code to your computer. So once you've downloaded Visual Studio Code, install it and set up the environment, you will have something like this. The first thing we'll do is to go through what we have in Visual Studio Code. Number one, you have extensions. Extensions are software written by some other programmers, since Visual Studio Code is open source. It's open source, meaning that anybody can actually write their own extension and upload in Visual Studio Code for other people to use it. There are some extensions you might need to download to make life easy for you. As you can see, if you come here, you can see that I have if you go to extensions right here, install extension, you can see I have a lot of extensions I've already installed in my system. But as you progress in your journey, you will have to install a lot more extensions. So we're just going to install a very few extensions right now, but as we progress, I'll tell you more extensions to install. The first extension you will install is Live Server. Just go to click here, extensions, and then under extensions marketplace, search for Live Server. So Live Server helps you to launch your local projects just to look as if it's a remote project. So, and it also have some interesting features, for instance, fast reload. As we proceed, you'll get to understand more, so don't worry about it. Just go to Live Server and beside it you will see install, then install it. You can also go through the description to see how it works. As you can see, the description say you can click on go live here. The go live we see here to launch your Live Server. We will also need to install Prettier. So Prettier is a very interesting extension that helps you to format your code. It can be pretty boring to write code and it's not well formatted. For instance, let me show you. Let me write HTML. So let me say head one. And let's say I shift this right here. If I save it, it formats it. Let me just write some other HTML code and just write other ones. P. So if I save right now, it formats it. The reason why this is happening is because I have installed Prettier and I set it up. So it could be pretty boring to have your code everywhere. So if you've installed Prettier, you will need to set it up. So to set it up, you go to extensions right here, open extensions, go to settings right here, open settings, and under settings, search for format on save. So you can see it right here. Just check format on save. You can also enable format on paste. So this will mean that whenever you paste a code, it will format it automatically. But I just prefer to format it when I save. So having installed Prettier and set it up, let's go ahead and look at what HTML is and how it really works. So, but before we do that, you probably have seen me do something like this, exclamation and tab, to come up with this basic HTML structure. So this comes pre-built with VS Code. It is an extension called Emmet that comes with VS Code. So all you need to do is to type exclamation and tab for this to work. So it's a nice shortcut that gives you the basic HTML structure. You don't need to come and type this yourself, since it is something that is just like a boilerplate code. So let's go ahead and see how HTML works. So right here you can see I opened this web page. This is a Mozilla developer page. So you can see it's developer.mozilla.org. The first thing you need to understand in HTML is the HTML tag. This is the wrapper around HTML that defines the entire HTML structure. As you can see, it has this lang tag, which is just specifying that you are going to use English here, but you can also put some other languages here like French. So it just informs HTML the language they're going to use in your web page. So next you see head right here. So head, as I mentioned in the previous video, a head is a structure that includes meta tags. It doesn't include what you see in your web page, but rather meta tags. So right here we can see the meta char.sat UTF-8. You can also see the viewport, which is describing the viewports, the size and the viewport of your browser. So we also see the title. In this case, we have the title to be document, but you can change it to whatever you want. You can also add a lot of other information to the head. Usually, this is where you add the SEO information. SEO stands for search engine optimization. Usually, when you deploy your application to the internet, Google and some other search engine is going to crawl your web page. When crawling your web page, they will look at the head to see if it contains some relevant SEO information. So this is where you need to insert some relevant SEO information, such as your description of your web page. For instance, when you go to google.com, let's say you search for, let's say, hair products. For instance, scroll down. These are descriptions on these products. So this description is typically added to the head section of the web page. So this is where you have to come and add it. So that is why the head is extremely important if you want the search engine to properly crawl your web page. So next is the body. The body is where you define the semantic structure of your web page. The body is where you are going to insert the HTML tags and structure. There are a lot of HTML structure that we can put in the body. As you can see, we have the image elements. We also have so many other HTML structure. We also have the paragraph. We have the lists. We have the h1. We have the h2. We have the h3. The h actually stands for the heading. H1 means the top heading. H2 means the second level heading. H3 the third level heading. H4 the fourth level heading. So this is just, a way to structure the web application. So usually you are expected to use the boldest heading in the H1, the second level boldest heading in the H2, and so forth. The paragraph is simply, as the name implies, is a paragraph. The elements where you add your tests. There are also span. There are also links. Links, usually referred as A, are just structures that link to some other web pages. So for instance, when you want to link in between your web page, for instance, you want to link between your home page and some other part of your web page, you want to do that with the link, which is this A. A just stands for the anchor link. I encourage you to spend time to go through the Mozilla Docs to see all of the elements available. But we're going to take a look at a handful of them to see how it works. So to begin with, we're going to build our very simple web application. The first thing we need to do is to just add a header. So as you can see, I added a header here, and let me just call it my first web page. And so I want to launch with my live server. So once I click this, as you can see, I have it here, my first web page. So I am going to add a section. Section is another HTML tag. It is just, as I mentioned earlier, HTML is a semantic structure. You can use anything. Most people prefer to use div, but section is just intuitive. It just tells you that you're making a new section. So, but you can use whatever you want. So, but usually I advise you to, when you want to make a wrapper around some, let's say, a group of related structure, you should use either section or div. So let's use section right here. So this section, we want to have the image. We just want to make our profile page. So let's have our image here. So to have the image, we need the image tag. The image tag is defined with img. So img. So once I type img and hit my tab, image completes the rest for me. So I can put the source of my image here. So here you can put the image in the web. For instance, I can search for this image right here and open it. Just maybe copy the image address. Okay, and come right here and paste it. When I save, since I'm using live server, as soon as I save, the image shows right here. You can also use local image. I want to use my local image. So I already have this image here. So to add your local image, you can just type /. It will show you the files in your local Visual Studio Code environment. So I want to select my image and I save. And as you can see, I have my image right here. It's a nice idea to add the auth. So let me say my photo. So auth is just alternative text. In case your image doesn't load, the auth is going to show. So for instance, if I add an image that doesn't exist, for instance, my pick one, as you can see, I have a broken image with the auth right here, my photo. So let me put it back. So I don't want the image to be this large, so I can set the width to, let's say, 200. As you can see, the image, resizes. I can also set the height to 200, or let's say 100, whatever, it doesn't matter. So you can see it shrinks, but I want to keep it consistent, or I can just set the width so that the height will scale, in line with the width. So it doesn't really matter. So I can add my bio. I want to add a class to the section. Let me call it my profile section. You can call your class whatever you want. Class is just what we normally use to style our application. So I also want to add a class here. Let me say class. I can call it my header. So you can add a class. So I want to add a bio section. I can use a div. Let's say class my bio, but you can also use a summary. You can use a summary. Summary is another HTML structure. Let me say class my bio. So I can add a dummy text. Image also comes with a dummy text called lorem ipsum. So to evoke lorem ipsum, all you need to do is to write lorem and maybe add the number of text you want to insert. Let's say I want to insert 20 words. Image 20 does it. As you can see, image 20, I don't need to come and type everything, I can even make it up to 100. Let's say image 100. Lorem 100. So I have all of these tests given to me for free. So this is my summary. So I can add my links. So or let me add my skills. Let me add a section which is class equals to skills. So right here I can have, okay, as you can see right here, I added an order list, and then I have all of these skills right here. So the next I'm going to add my education, and then I have my education. You can also use order lists. On order list is UL, order list is OL. So as you can see, when I use order list, I have 1, 2. So, but I think on order list is more appropriate here. And let me just add my contact info. Okay, and let me add my social networks. Div class is social networks. So, and here is it. So my social networks, you can add your social networks, and then let me add my footer. Let me just add my footer. Let me end it here with my, okay, we can add our projects as well. So we can add our projects. Finally, we are going to add our footer. So we can say our copy. So, okay, sorry. So let me just use H1 here. So you notice something, when I use H1, HTML knows to make it to be the biggest element on this web page. And in the sections, I have my skills, education, contact info, socials, projects, and these are H2. And you can see the H2 is also bolded by default by HTML. We didn't need to do anything. The HTML does it for us. So HTML, even though it's a semantic structure, it also has some predefined rules that it expects you to follow. So you do well to follow those rules. And also, I also mentioned that when you have your web page, search engine bots crawl your web page. And search engine bot also look at these semantic structures. For instance, search engine bot looks at the H1, the H2, the H3, and so forth. For instance, when you have your H1 in the proper place, the search engine bot is going to properly identify it as a heading of your web page and will use it for the appropriate purposes. So when you are developing your web application, you should pay attention to this. Of course, you can decide to disobey these rules, but it is just to your best interest to follow these rules to arrive at the right results. So as you can see, we have this basic structure of our web application, and it is not looking nice, of course, because we have not added CSS. As I mentioned in the previous video, CSS is what defines the looks and feel of your web application. So we're going to add CSS to this application to make it to look very nice. But because of time, we cannot do this in this video. In our next video, we're going to continue from where we stop and style this web application properly with CSS to make it to look awesome. So stay tuned and watch out for the next video.